There are thoughts you never speak out loud. Moments when the world around you feels distant, like you're watching life through a window that no one else sees. You smile, you nod, you keep moving. But inside, there's something else. A question that doesn't go away. It's not loud. It's not urgent. But it's always there. In the pause between tasks. In the quiet after laughter. In the space where meaning used to be. What am I really doing here? Maybe you felt it at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling. Or in the middle of a party, suddenly disconnected from everyone. Maybe you've looked out the window and thought, what if I just disappeared? You're not broken. You're not crazy. You're awake. And what you're feeling isn't weakness. It's awareness. This is the moment where most people look away. Where the distractions get louder. Where the masks come back on. But not you. You're still here. You stayed. And that matters more than you think. Because what you're facing right now isn't death. It's a door. And this video is about what happens when you walk through it. There are moments when everything goes quiet. No music. No conversation. Just you and that faint, inexplicable pull. Maybe you're standing by a window, watching the world go on without you. Maybe you're driving at night and the road stretches endlessly into darkness. And then it hits you. A sudden vision, a whisper from somewhere deep inside. What if it all just stopped right here? It's not a scream, not even a cry. It's a subtle thought that slides into your mind like fog. You could disappear. And oddly, that thought feels calm, not desperate. It's terrifying because it doesn't feel like panic. It feels like relief, like silence after too much noise. But this is not about wanting to die. Not really. It's about encountering a kind of void that exists beyond words, beyond logic. That void isn't physical. It's not the fall from the window or the crash into the wall. It's something far more abstract. The realization that nothing is holding you here. You could leave, you could vanish, and nothing in the world would physically stop you. That's the pull. That's the danger. And yet, strangely, it's also the invitation. The void doesn't push. It doesn't drag. It waits. It whispers. It reminds you of something most people try to forget. That you are free. Completely. It's in those moments that you see life for what it really is. Fragile, fleeting, without guarantees. There's no contract, no rule book, no cosmic promise that everything will turn out okay. And so, standing on the edge of existence, you're faced with a silent question. What now? That question isn't there to break you. It's there to wake you. The void doesn't want your life. It wants your attention. It wants you to understand that you are staring into the face of pure freedom, the kind that doesn't care what you do next. And that's what makes it so terrifying. Most people never realize how paralyzing freedom can be. We say we want it. We chase it. But when we finally see it, naked, unfiltered, without excuses, we panic. Because freedom means responsibility. It means choice. It means owning every step, every breath, every decision from this moment forward. And in the face of that responsibility, the void becomes seductive. Because the easiest way to escape the burden of freedom is to escape existence itself. That's the dark trick. The void promises relief, not because it solves anything, but because it removes the need to choose. But maybe, just maybe, the void isn't the enemy. Maybe it's a mirror, one that shows you the cost of being alive. It shows you that meaning isn't given, it's made. It reveals how easily you could step away. So you finally understand why you stay. The truth is, the thought of ending it isn't weakness. It's a confrontation, a test, one that asks not if you want to live, but why. And if you haven't answered that yet, it will keep coming back. Every night, every silence, every time you are alone with your thoughts. The void doesn't chase you. You carry it inside. It waits in the background of your happiest moments. It sits silently when you're laughing with friends. It lingers behind your eyes when you smile at a stranger. And one day, when you're alone, it steps forward and asks, "Is this enough for you?" That's not a threat. It's a question only you can answer. And when you do, when you choose to stay, something happens. You take your first real step out of numbness. You stop surviving on autopilot. You begin to live, not because you have to, but because you decided to. And that's what the void wants from you. A decision. Not an escape. Not despair. Just a moment of clarity. A moment when you stop and face yourself. When you admit that life is uncertain, unfair, and unbearably heavy. And still, you choose to breathe. That breath, the one you take after staring into the edge, is the beginning of everything. It's the seed of strength. The first sign that, even in your darkest hour, you are capable of choosing light. Not because it's easier, but because it's yours, entirely. So next time the void calls, don't panic. Don't run. Listen. Let it ask you the hard questions. Let it strip you bare. And when it does, answer honestly. If you're still here, it means you've already made a choice, even if you don't know it yet. And that choice carries power. Not the power to erase pain, but the power to turn that pain into clarity. The void may call you, but you don't have to follow. You can simply look back at it and say, "Not today. I still have questions to ask. I still have something to build. I'm not done yet." You wake up. You go through the motions. You work, eat, scroll, sleep. Then you do it again. The days bleed together like ink in water, shapeless, silent, and strangely heavy. At some point, without even realizing it, you start asking yourself, is this really what life is? Not in anger, not even in sadness. Just a quiet confusion. A feeling that none of this fits, that maybe you're part of a play where no one handed you the script, and so you watch yourself live without really living. A ghost inside your own routine. Moving, but not moving forward. The absurd doesn't crash in like a storm. It seeps in like fog. It shows up in the small moments. A crowded elevator, a birthday party, a traffic jam. Life feels like it's full of things to do, but none of it seems to matter. You hit the milestones, check the boxes, do what you're told, and still, something is missing. The absurd isn't the absence of activity. It's the absence of meaning within that activity. It's the moment you realize that even if you played your part perfectly, the script never had a point to begin with. This is where the real crisis begins. Not because life is hard, but because it's empty in all the places you thought would be full. No prize at the end of the struggle. No final applause. Just silence. The world keeps spinning, indifferent to your pain, your effort, your tears. And yet, you're still here, still breathing, still hoping somehow that there's more. That maybe the meaning isn't found. Maybe it's created. Maybe it's built in the rubble of the absurd, not above it. Maybe the truth isn't that life is meaningless. But that meaning isn't automatic. That realization can break you, or it can wake you. Because if nothing matters by default, then everything you choose to care about becomes sacred. You are no longer waiting for permission. You are no longer obeying invisible rules. You're writing your own. The absurdity of life becomes a canvas, blank, intimidating, but full of possibility. It's terrifying, yes, but it's also liberating. You're no longer chasing a path someone else drew. You're carving your own through the chaos, through the noise, through the silence that used to scare you. It's not easy. You'll still feel lost. You'll still wake up wondering what the point is. But now, that question becomes fuel, not poison. You're no longer pretending that the answers will arrive neatly packaged. You're searching. You're creating. And that makes you alive in a way most people never dare to be. The absurd doesn't disappear, but it stops being your enemy. It becomes your companion. A constant reminder that if life has no built-in purpose, then every moment you choose to care, love, fight, cry, is a rebellion. In that rebellion, you find clarity, not in the form of solutions, but in the power of your decisions. You decide to get up when there's no reward. You speak when your voice shakes. You keep going when nothing tells you to. That is the power of someone who has stared into the absurd and stayed. The world doesn't hand you purpose, but it gives you space. Space to define what matters. Space to say, this is my life. These are my terms. And in that act, you reclaim everything that felt stolen. It's not about finding a grand answer. It's about learning to live without one. To build joy from fragments. To laugh, not because life makes sense, but because you choose to. To love, not because it lasts, but because it's real in that moment. You stop asking if life is supposed to be this way. You start asking what you want it to be. And that shift, that small shift, is everything. The absurd is no longer a threat. It's a challenge, one that says, if nothing matters, then what do you want to matter? So next time the question creeps in, what's the point? Don't silence it. Let it echo. Let it shake your foundation. Then answer it, not with certainty, but with courage. Because if you're going to live in an absurd world, let your life be the most intentional contradiction it has ever seen. Let your love be loud. Let your actions be defiant. Let your meaning be handmade, raw, imperfect, but yours. Life will never explain itself. But that doesn't mean you have to live without purpose. It just means you get to create one. No one tells you that freedom can feel like a curse. You grow up thinking it's the ultimate prize, the thing everyone wants. But one day, you realize that true freedom isn't just the ability to do what you want. It's the unbearable awareness that you are the one responsible for every decision. Every yes, every no, every silence. It's realizing there's no one coming to save you. No fate to carry you forward. No destiny to blame. Just you, with an open road and no map. The same freedom that sounds so beautiful in theory becomes paralyzing when it's real. Because freedom means you could do anything, even destroy yourself. That's the part no one talks about. You could quit your job, walk out of your relationship, vanish into the night, or worse. And no divine hand would stop you. The universe wouldn't even flinch. That kind of freedom doesn't feel empowering. It feels like standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing there's nothing holding you back but your own will. It's raw. It's silent. It's terrifying. And in that moment, the question isn't what should I do? It's why am I still here? That question comes not from weakness, but from awareness. It's the moment you stop running on autopilot. You see clearly that you're not bound by any invisible strings. You can walk away. You can let go. And that knowledge shakes you. You realize how easy it would be to disappear, and how easy it would be to waste the life you've been given. That's the weight of freedom. It doesn't demand anything from you. It simply hands you the full burden of choice and says, now what? Most people never truly confront that. They hide behind routines, obligations, beliefs, anything to avoid the silence that follows real freedom. But once you've felt it, once you've tasted the void and survived, something changes. You're no longer fooled by illusions of control. You see that everything is built on choices. Not just the big ones, but the small ones. The ones no one sees. The ones that define your days, your relationships, your future. And suddenly you realize how powerful and how terrifying you really are. Because if no one else is steering, then you are. And that means your pain, your healing, your growth, they're in your hands. No more excuses, no more waiting. Freedom isn't comfortable. It's not soft or safe. It's the fire that burns through your illusions and forces you to face yourself. But in that fire, you forge something real. A self that's not based on expectations or fear. A self that chooses. A self that rises. Not because it's easy, but because it's yours. You don't have to know what you want right away. Freedom isn't about having all the answers. It's about creating space to ask the right questions. Questions like, what am I afraid of? What have I been avoiding? What would I do if no one was watching? Those questions hurt. They peel away your defenses, but they also uncover your truth. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can deny it, delay it, run from it, but eventually it catches up. And when it does, it demands your attention. In that moment, the bravest thing you can do is choose to stay. Stay in the discomfort. Stay with the fear. Stay with the not knowing. Because freedom isn't found in the absence of fear. It's found in moving forward despite it. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to be willing to take the next step, even when everything inside you wants to retreat. That is the real power of freedom. Not the ability to escape, but the courage to remain and build. So when the silence comes, when you feel the weight of your choices pressing down, don't run, don't numb, don't beg for someone else to take the wheel. Stand there, breathe, and remember, this fear, this discomfort, this raw space, it means you're free. And being free is not about doing whatever you want. It's about choosing who you become. You are not stuck. You are not cursed. You are just standing on sacred ground where anything is possible and everything is up to you. Pain changes you. It enters slowly at first, like a shadow creeping in under the door. Then it takes over. Your body, your thoughts, your ability to breathe. It distorts time. Minutes feel like hours. Days feel like walls. There's no escape route, no relief. Just the endless pressure of something inside you breaking, but never fully shattering. And in those moments, when the weight is unbearable, the question appears, what if I stop trying? Not out of drama, not out of desperation, just out of exhaustion. A deep, quiet longing to stop hurting. That question is dangerous, but it's also honest. It means you've reached the edge, not of life, but of your endurance. You've given everything, held it together longer than anyone knows, and now, there's nothing left to hold. People around you say, stay strong, but they don't see what it costs. They don't hear the voice that says, there's no more fight in you. And maybe there isn't. But maybe, just maybe, staying isn't about fighting. Maybe it's about surrendering to the fact that you're still here, even when it hurts. Because sometimes staying is the hardest thing you can do. Getting out of bed, answering the phone, taking a breath that feels like it will never be enough. These are not small victories. They are acts of defiance. Proof that something inside you still refuses to give up. That even when life strips you of everything, there's still a part of you whispering, hold on. Not because it gets better immediately, not because anything makes sense, but because somewhere in the pain, there's still a flicker of light. That light might come from the smallest thing. A friend's laugh, a song you forgot you loved, the smell of rain, the warmth of someone's hand. These aren't solutions. They don't erase the hurt. But they remind you that beauty still exists, even here, even now. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's reason to stay. Not for the future, not for some grand purpose, but for this moment, this breath, this sliver of something that says, you are still alive. And staying doesn't mean pretending. It doesn't mean hiding your scars or smiling through the ache. It means showing up messy, broken, tired, but showing up anyway. It means allowing others to love you even when you feel unlovable. It means admitting you need help without apologizing for it. Staying is not weakness. It's not failure. It's choosing to remain in the fire, to feel everything fully, and to believe that maybe, just maybe, you're strong enough to survive it. Sometimes, the only reason you stay is because someone else needs you. A parent, a friend, a child, a stranger who doesn't even know your name. You matter in ways you can't always see. Your presence ripples. Your pain echoes in others who feel less alone because of you. And when you stay, you remind them that survival is possible. That hurting doesn't disqualify you from meaning. That being in pieces doesn't make you less human. It makes you real. The truth is, we all break, but not all of us choose to rebuild. That's what makes staying powerful. It's a quiet revolution, a rebellion against despair, a statement that says, I am more than what hurts me. You don't have to know what comes next. You just have to choose not to disappear. Stay, not because it's easy, but because disappearing erases possibilities you haven't even imagined yet. Stay because there's more story to tell, even if the next chapter is just one more day. So if today you're thinking of giving up, don't. Not yet. Rest, yes. Cry, yes. But don't vanish. Stay one more night, one more breath, one more heartbeat. That may be the bravest thing you'll ever do, because anyone can walk away. But to stay, in the pain, in the dark, in the unknown, that is the kind of courage most people will never understand. And if no one else says it to you today, let this be enough. You are still here, and that means there is still hope. The void doesn't always come in darkness. Sometimes it appears in stillness, in that strange silence after a good day, when you should feel happy, but don't. Or in the middle of a crowd, when laughter surrounds you, but none of it touches you. That's when it creeps in. The sense that something's missing, that none of this is real, that you're floating above your own life like a ghost watching someone else's movie. The void doesn't scream. It whispers. And its question is simple, quiet, and devastating. Is this all there is? At first, the instinct is to run, to drown the question in noise, distractions, dopamine, deadlines. You scroll, binge, drink, shop, talk, anything to stay one step ahead of the silence, because you know what happens if you stop. The void is there, waiting. But the truth is, the void isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to show you something. Something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. The question is not there to pull you into darkness. It's there to open a door, because the void is not a wall. It's a portal, a transition, a space where the old version of you starts to crack and something new begins to stir beneath. It's uncomfortable, it's disorienting, but it's necessary. Every real transformation begins in that liminal space, where nothing feels solid and you're forced to confront who you are when no one's watching, when nothing is guaranteed, when all you have is yourself. That's where the work begins. That's where the truth waits. If you're brave enough to stand still in that silence, you'll hear something else. Your own voice. Not the one that performs. Not the one that pleases. The one underneath. The one you buried years ago beneath expectations, achievements, fear. That voice doesn't offer answers. It asks better questions. What do you really want? Who are you when you're not trying to prove something? What have you been pretending not to feel? The void doesn't punish you. It strips away the lies. And after the lies are gone, what remains? You. Just you. Not perfect, not finished, but real. And in that rawness, you begin to feel something else. Potential. Not the fake kind sold in self-help slogans. The real kind. The kind that comes from knowing you faced the abyss and stayed. That you didn't turn away when everything inside you begged for an escape. That you had every reason to give up and didn't. That kind of truth doesn't make you better than anyone, but it makes you ready to rebuild, ready to live from a place of honesty, not performance, ready to let go of the masks and move forward without pretending. That's what the void offers. Not comfort, not certainty, but clarity. It shows you what isn't working, what you've outgrown, what was never really yours. And from that, it gives you space to begin again. On your terms, from your truth. Not because everything is fixed, but because now, finally, you're awake. So no, the void is not the end. It is the beginning most people fear to face. A beginning that demands everything but gives something priceless in return. Yourself. Not the version others expect. The version that exists underneath it all. Wild, broken, brilliant, and beautifully unfinished. That version doesn't need to be understood. It needs to be lived. Fully. Even if no one claps. Even if no one sees. Even if you're the only one who knows it's real. So the next time the void arrives, don't run. Don't fill it with noise. Step into it. Ask it questions. Let it peel back the layers. Let it hurt. Let it cleanse. Let it teach you what it came to show. Because the void isn't a threat. It's an invitation. And once you walk through it, you don't go back to who you were. You don't want to. Because now you understand. Emptiness isn't where you end. It's where you begin. The void will visit again. Not to harm you, but to remind you that underneath every mask, beneath every routine, behind every performance, there's still a question waiting to be answered. You don't have to fear that question anymore, because now you've seen what lives on the other side of silence. You've stood at the edge of yourself and didn't fall. You listened. You looked inward. You stayed. And maybe for the first time you realized you are not powerless. You are not just a passenger in your life. You are the one holding the wheel. Even when you feel lost. Even when it hurts. The fact that you're still here means something. Not everything needs to be explained. Some things only need to be faced. So the next time the world goes quiet, the next time you feel that whisper, don't numb it. Don't run. Just pause, breathe, and say, I'm still here.